رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما. Inshallah, we'll be covering Sura Qaf. We'll be continuing with our discussion on Sura Qaf. Last week on Friday, we went through verses 1 through 5, and this week, inshallah, we'll be going through verses 6 through 11. So very quickly, we'll do a quick recap of verses 1 through 5. And we talked about we gave a little background in terms of we talked about a little bit the background of the surah, when the time of the revelation of the surah, when it happened, what was the central theme of the surah. We talked about how the central theme of Surah Qaf is actually about the afterlife, and another part of it is also about defending the Prophet and serving as a consolation to the Prophet. Last week we went through the first section, and that first section was verses 1 through 5. And in verses 1 through 5, we talked about the magnificence of the Quran and the miraculous nature of the Quran. Now in verses 6 through 11, we'll be talking about the different signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents before us for us to be able to solidify our faith, solidify our belief. And what's very interesting is that part of faith, part of belief is actually being able to look at the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the different things that God has created, and seeing the power and the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in verses 6 through 11, we'll be covering that today. So a quick recap, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off the surah by saying Qaf. He says Qaf, and we talked about how the letter Qaf, saying Qaf is just it is a letter, and how this is called the huruf muqatta'at, we'll call them the disjointed letters. And this occurs many other times in the Quran. Specifically, it occurs 28 other times in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Qaf, ha, ya, ayn, sad. He says, alif, lam, mim, alif, lam, ra, ta, sin, mim. So it occurs many other times in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, wal Quran al-Majid, and he swears by the glorious Quran. In the next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ عَجِبُوا أَنْ جَاءَهُمْ مُنْذِرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَقَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ هَذَا شَيْءٌ عَجِيبٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but the disbelievers are amazed that a warner has come from among them. They say, how strange. We talked about how in this ayah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us is that those who disbelieved, those who were opposed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, their problem wasn't actually the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It wasn't the message that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come with. Rather, their biggest problem was that somebody who was from them, someone who was from their tribe, someone who used to be around them and things of that nature, was correcting them on their lifestyle, was now telling them, hey, you have to be a certain way, you have to correct the things that you're doing, you cannot treat people in this way, so on and so forth. Then ayah number 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا. He says that this is after they're astonished by the fact that they will have somebody who is from amongst them correcting them on their actions and telling them to get things together. Excuse me, I have really bad allergies. I talked about this last class, so try to get them under control, but it's not really working out. So after they will say that they're amazed by the fact that, or astonished or taken aback, really, they think it's really strange that someone who is just like them will be coming and trying to correct them on their actions, trying to correct them on who they are, then they start to criticize the message itself. They start to criticize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They start to criticize what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says will happen. So they say, أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا. They said, are we really going to come back to life? وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا, after we've become dust? ذَلِكَ رَجْعٌ بَعِيدٌ. They said that's very far-fetched. It's impossible for that to happen. In number 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ عَلِمْنَا مَا تَنْقُصُ الْأَرْضُ مِنْهُمْ, that we know very well what the earth takes from them. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّنَا كِتَابٌ حَفِيظٌ, and we keep a comprehensive record, that we keep a record of what's been happening, what's been done, the people who have come in and out of this earth. And then last that we covered last week, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ كَذَّبُوا بِالْحَقِّ لَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ فَهُمْ فِي أَمْرٍ مَرِيجٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but the disbelievers, they deny the truth. And we talked about how this haqq here, it means, can mean three things. It can either mean the message in the Prophet brought, so the truth meaning the message in which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought forth, or it can mean al-haqq, it can mean the actual Quran, or it can mean the life of the hereafter, meaning they're rejecting the reality. How the meaning of reality, that they're rejecting the reality of the hereafter. So rather the disbelievers, they deny the truth, meaning, and majority go with the meaning of truth being the Quran. لَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ فَهُمْ فِي أَمْرٍ مَرِيجٍ, that whenever that truth came to them, they denied it, and they are in a state of confusion. So here, this is where we stopped off from last week. Now this week, we'll be covering ayahs number 6 through 11, and ayahs number 6 through 11 talk about primarily the different creations and different things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for us to take heed of and for us to use as a remembrance. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings these examples, he brings specifically to the disbelievers, because look at the way that they're denying Allah. They're denying the message of the Prophet, they're denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the thing that they're denying the most is resurrection. They're saying that how is it that we'll be brought back to life and held accountable for our actions? How is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to tell us, how is it that God is going to bring us back after we've died and we've been in the dirt and the insects have eaten away at our flesh? How is it that we're going to be brought back to life? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now he strikes examples about things that we see every single day. And when we take heed of these examples, then we understand that just as easy as it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create these different creations, it's even easier for him to bring them back. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Sura Qaf, ayah number 6, and if anybody's following along, you can pull up the verses so that you're able to see them as we keep going. A very good website that I particularly like to use is Quran.com. So you can do Quran.com/50 because it's surah number 50 and Sura Qaf will come up. Or you can do Tanzil.net, which has more of a mushaf type of look, and you can hover your cursor over it and it'll bring up the translation of the verses as well. But in ayah number 6, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do they not see? Are they not looking? Okay? أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, to the skies, above them. كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا, how we created it. وَزَيَّنَّاهَا, and how we beautified it. وَمَا لَهَا مِنْ فُرُوجٍ, and there are no rifts in it. There are no cracks in it. So the translator, I primarily use the translation, the Abdul Halim translation of Oxford, Abdul Halim Oxford translation. So the translator, he says, he translates this ayah. Oh, let me read the ayah all together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَوْقَهُمْ كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا وَمَا لَهَا مِنْ فُرُوجٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do they not see the sky above them, how we built it and adorn it with no rifts in it? So do they not see the sky above them, how we built it and adorned it and no rifts in them? The ayah here in Afalam, the ayah here is it actually is for questioning. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question many times in the Quran. Sometimes it's questions for reflection, sometimes it's question for actual answers, sometimes it's question for reprimanding. And so here, this is actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimanding those who disbelieve, because we talked about in the first 5 ayat how they were disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And part of their disbelief and part of what they were doing in that disbelief is that they were saying that, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala God can't bring us back to life. They are very much adamant that God couldn't bring them back to life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reprimanding them. And in his reprimand to them, he brings examples. So he tells the Prophet, he's asking the Prophet, أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا, do they not see? Are they not looking? Are they not using their sight to look at إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, the skies? Now, إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَوْقَهُمْ كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا وَمَا لَهَا مِنْ فُرُوجٍ. that do they not see? Do they not look? Are they not paying attention to the skies above them? Alhamdulillah, excuse me. Allergies. Above them, how we've created them, how God has created it, how God has built it, وَزَيَّنَّاهَا, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has beautified it, وَمَا لَهَا مِن فُرُوجٍ, and there are no cracks in it. Now, in Surah Isra, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something very similar. In Surah Isra, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ يَرَوْا, do they not see? أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, that Allah is the one who created the heavens and the earth. قَادِرٌ عَلَى أَنْ يَخْلُقَ مِثْلُهُم, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to create their like, create similar to it. And then in Surah An-Naziyat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءُ, what is harder? Is it more difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create you or to create the people? For you people or the sky? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He built it. رَفَعَ سَمْكَهَا فَسَوَّاهَا, raising it high and then making it perfect, perfecting it. وَأَغْطَشَ لَيْلَهَا وَأَخْرَجَ ضُحَاهَا, He said, giving darkness to it. وَأَغْطَشَ لَيْلَهَا, giving darkness to the night. وَأَخْرَجَ ضُحَاهَا, and bringing out the brightness, the morning brightness. وَأَرْضَ بَعْدَهَا دَهَاهَا, and the earth He spread it out. أَخْرَجَ مِنْهَا مَاءَهَا وَمَرْعَاهَا, bringing water and sustenance out of it. وَالْجِبَالَ أَرْسَاهَا, and setting the mountains firm in it. مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ, this is a benefit for you and a benefit for the animals. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it's so easy for Him to be able to create the heavens, to create the skies, and to create the earth. And do we not look around at these different signs that God has given us? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا مَا لَهَا مِن فُرُوجٍ. Furuj actually is the plural of the word faraj. And it means like an opening, it means like a crack, okay? It means something, an opening or a break or a crack in something. So say for instance you have your phone and your phone screen, because this is like what everybody's using these days, so your phone screen is very clear. It's like there's nothing there, there's nothing breaking it. All of a sudden there's a crack in it. That means that it's defective. The crack is not meant to be there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there's no defect in the sky at all. Now what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling, He is continuing to call the disbelievers out on their disbelief. He's telling them that your faith, that you're supposed to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your faith should be in the one who created the sky. That there are simple signs that God has given us. For example, if we just walk outside of our houses right now and look up, we'll see that the sky is there. How is it that it's created and there's nothing holding it up? Who is responsible for the sky? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, after drawing our attention to the sky, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws our attention to the earth. He says, وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَّدْنَاهَا وَأَلْقَيْنَاهَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَأَنْبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجٍ بَهِيجٍ. The translator writes, how we spread out the earth and put solid mountains on it and cause every kind of joyous plant to grow in it. Madadana means to stretch something out or to roll something out, okay? It means to stretch something out or to roll something out. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the earth, He says, وَالْأَرْضَ, and how we spread out, madadanaha, the earth. وَأَلْقَيْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the mountains, how He's used the mountains as pegs to stabilize the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't use the word jabal, He used the word rawasiya. Rawasiya is something that runs deep. Rawasiya is something that runs deep, is something that is very rooted. So it's talking about how the mountains serve as pegs, okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in other parts of the Quran. He says, وَجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا, like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the mountains, how they're pegs. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing He says is that the earth has been spread out, that He spread out the earth. The second thing that He says it says, وَأَلْقَيْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ, and how he put solid mountains on the earth in order to stabilize the land. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنْبَتَنَا فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجٍ بَهِيجٍ, that and cause every kind of plant, every kind of joyous plant to grow in it. The word bahij, so here the translator translated the word bahij as joyous. But what the word bahij actually means something that is very beautiful. But we know that like the word jamil also means beautiful as well. The difference between bahij and the difference between the word jamil is that something can be beautiful, but it doesn't cause you joy. Like you may say, oh, that's a very beautiful candle. And candles may not be something that makes you happy. But the word bahij is for something to be so beautiful that it makes you happy. It's for something to, it's when you see something that is so beautiful, that is so nice, that it inspires something happy within you. It inspires something joyous within you. So this is why the translator translated it as joyous. Now what's interesting is that, for example, when you see springtime, when it's springtime and you see that the flowers are blooming, and you see that there are such beautiful flowers coming out, you can't help but, if you're actually paying attention to them, you can't help but smile. For example, if you see like a beautiful waterfall, these different creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cause this joy, they cause this inspiration in us, and that's what it means for something to be bahij. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed them the majesty in which He built the skies, now He draws our attention to the earth. And that's because we experience the earth every single day. It's not necessary that the sky may change so much, right? From rain and things of that nature, it's not necessary that the things in the sky change that much. But there are things that change so often within the earth. And so now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls our attention to that. In ayah number 8, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَبْصِرَةً وَذِكْرَى لِكُلِّ عَبْدٍ مُنِيبٍ. This is a lesson. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَبْصِرَةً وَذِكْرَى لِكُلِّ عَبْدٍ مُنِيبٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, a lesson and reminder for every servant who turns to God, for every single servant who turns to God. The word tabsira, it actually, it means to see, okay? It means to see. It comes from basara, meaning the sight of a person. But the difference between basar and nadar is that nadar is just see. It's just using your eyesight to see. As opposed to basar, which is the actual sight of a, meaning like a vision, okay? It's the vision of a person. So here it creates the insight so that somebody can see more. It's seeing past what you think is on the forefront. So for example, the Prophet ﷺ says, هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ. The Prophet ﷺ says that this is my path, this is my mission. أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ, I call to Allah, I call people to Allah, عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ, upon this vision, that this is a vision. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the that He وَجَعَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ شَقْفًا مَحْفُوظًا. Now, when we think about Allah says we made the skies, and we made the skies a ceiling, okay? The thing about a ceiling is that it protects you from something. It protects you from many things, right? For example, in your home, the ceiling protects you from the rain. It protects you from many things. It protects the belongings within your home. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He created the skies a ceiling, but He doesn't say half that a protecting ceiling, meaning He does the protection. He says mahfuda, that it's a protected ceiling. And what we see here is that this is like a prime example of tabsira. It's showing us the reality of the things, that yes, there is a sky and that sky protects us. Now, that sky that does the protecting has someone protecting it. That is insight. That is being able to see past what is just directly in front of you. Being able to see the true reality of things, and that true reality is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything. There's a time when the Prophet ﷺ was walking past a Bedouin, and this Bedouin was making dua to subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one part of the beautiful dua that the Bedouin was making is that he was calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Ya'lamu mathaqil al-jibal, that he knows the weight of the mountains and the measure of the oceans and the count of the raindrops and the number of leaves on the trees and the amount of things which are concealed by the night and those things upon which the sun shines. Here he's talking about the qudra, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows every single thing. And this is what you call tafsir. This is what you call the ability to take lesson from life, the ability to know the reality of life, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything. The second characteristics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, he says, the second thing he says is dhikra. Dhikra is to bring someone out of the state of indifference, like to remind somebody of something. So why are these two things brought? What does Allah say tafsir and dhikra? Well, one reason is that tafsir is one of the scholars says that tafsir is about asl, the origin, the foundation of a person's iman. Okay, and that is the staple. Tafsir, the insight, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created every single thing. That is your staple of your iman. That is there. That is your foundation of one's faith. But we know that the Prophet ﷺ says, "Iman yazidu wa yanqus." That iman is something, faith is something that increases and decreases. And so when you're at a state where your faith has decreased, what do you need? You need a reminder, because the reminder benefits the believer. And it benefits them, especially at a time when their faith has decreased. And it helps you to increase your faith. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us many times in the Quran for us to reflect, and for us to be reminded, and for us to do reminding. So interacting with nature, what we get from all of this is that interacting with nature is something that allows for us to reflect on the blessings of God. None of us could have created the sky. None of us have the ability to even have any control over the sky. None of us have the ability to have control over the land or anything of that nature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is in absolute control, because He created every single thing. So going outside and taking a walk and really reflecting upon the different things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created really builds your iman. It builds your relationship between you and Him. As you now are able to see the power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. In the end of this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Likulli abdin," for every single slave. This is a reminder, a lesson and a reminder. Likulli abdin, for every single slave. Munibin, that is munib. What is munib? Munib comes from the word anaba, and it means it means to turn to something, but it's not necessarily talking about physically turning. Okay, because so it's not necessarily talking about physically turning. It actually means for every single slave that opens themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for every person that opens their heart, that genuinely turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In ayah number 9, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَزَّلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً مُبَارَكًا فَأَنْبَتْنَا بِهِ جَنَّاتٍ وَحَبَّ الْحَصِيدِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the translates, He says that, and how we send blessed water down from the sky and grow with it gardens, and gardens that harvest grain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَزَّلْنَا, Nazzalna means to send something down, and it has the implication of continuity or renewal, something that's constant. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly sends down mina sama'i, from the skies, ma'an, water. But it's not just any kind of water, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala qualifies the water. He says mubarak. This water is blessed. Mubarak comes from the word barakah, which means something that is blessed, but something that remains, okay? It's steady, it remains, it stays. Sometimes when we think about blessing, we think that blessings are about having more, okay? You think that, okay, because I have more money, God blessed me with more, which is true. God has blessed you with more money. But blessings, mubarakah here, is not necessarily talking about quantity, it's more about quality. It's being able to do a lot with with what you have. It's being able to do a lot with what you have. So the qualifier that this rain is mubarakan, that this rain was not plentiful in the sense that it wasn't a punishment or it wasn't sent down to destroy, but it was sent down. Why? فَأَنْبَتْنَا بِهِ جَنَّاتٍ وَحَبَّ it was sent down to be able to bring forth different things from the land. And we'll talk about what those different things are. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَنْبَتْنَا بِهِ, use that water we sprout and grow. Jannatin, entire gardens. And these gardens are necessary, talking about more like pleasurable foods, like fruits and things of that nature. وَحَبَّ الْحَسِيدِ, Habba is grain and hasid is harvest. So here it's talking about the types of harvest, the types of grains that you're able to use and keep later on, that you're able to store. So you're able to stack them, and they're not here for a limited time, meaning they're not going to perish easily, that they'll take time to perish. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 10, he says, وَالنَّخْلَ بَاسِقَةٍ لَهَا طَلْعٌ نَضِيدٌ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and tall palm trees laden with clusters of dates. Okay, when nakhla, date palm trees, nakhla is a date palm tree. Date palm tree. Basikatin. Basikatin means something that is tall and firm and can stand on their own, meaning it doesn't need any help. Something that is tall, firm, and can stand on their own. Tal'un nadidun are clusters of dates. So this tall tree, on the top of it, at the very top, there are clusters of dates. There's clusters of fruit at the very top. Now, we already talked about in the previous ayah, we talked about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about, he said that he brought forth the water. Using that water, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has grown and harvested gardens, and then after gardens, he talked about the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has harvest gardens, wahab al-hasid, and then he's also in grains and things of that nature. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here singling out date palm trees? Well, what we see here is that this is something where you are, after talking about something very general, then you come back and talk about something very specific. And doing that actually is to be able to highlight that thing and emphasize it. So some scholars say that the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting, emphasizing the date palm tree here is because the Quran was revealed in real time to the Arabs. And it was in a way to connect with the audience. While other scholars, they say that previously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned gardens and fruits. And these gardens and fruits, they're more of things that you eat that can perish easily. So they're not things that you store. So you eat them immediately, and they're more like pleasurable things. Like strawberries are not absolutely essential to your life, but you like them and you enjoy them and you get them, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talked about crops, the different types of grains, things that are essential. They're used for survival, that you can harvest and then you keep them and you can store them for a long time. The thing about dates is that they're interesting because they're a combination of both. They're both a fruit in the sense that they're fruit-like in the sense that they have their sweetness and things of that nature, but they can also be stored for a long time without going bad. And so there are many different ways in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually, in Surah Ibrahim, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likens the faith of a believer to a tree. And the thing about that is that some scholars actually say that that tree is actually the date palm tree, because we learn so much from the date palm tree. And in Surah Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan kalimatan tayyiba. He's talking to the Prophet, he says, do you not see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a comparison? Okay, a good word, mathalan kalimatan tayyiba, a good word meaning your faith, your iman, la ilaha illallah, kasajaratin tayyiba, it's like a good tree. Asluha thabit, which its roots are firm. Okay, its roots are firm. وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ, and the branches are high in the sky. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تُؤْتِي أُكُلَهَا كُلَّ حِينٍ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ. It constantly brings forth fruit by the command and the permission of its Lord. وَيَضْرِبُ اللَّهُ أَمْثَالًا لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يتذكرون. And God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents these comparisons for people لعلهم يتذكرون, so that perhaps they may reflect upon it. When we talk about the date palm tree is something that takes a long time to grow. It's not something that you plant today and then you come out tomorrow and it's like, whoo, it's high, it's beautiful. And it has so many fruits. It takes a long time to grow, and it takes energy and it takes effort. And so that's kind of like our iman. Sometimes we think that we just say that we believe, and that's it. That's it, that our iman should be firm in our heart, and that's it. Like any other relationship, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires work, and it requires consistent work. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us that once you have firmly rooted your faith, once your iman has been firm, you have really taken care of it and put in effort and things of that nature, that the benefits that you get out of it, the benefits that other people benefit from it are endless. Similar to the date palm tree. In ayah number 11, the last ayah that we covered today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rizqan lil ibad, that as provisions for everyone, meaning this tree, the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned before, that these are provisions, these are sustenance for every single person. For everyone, for every single slave. And he says, and how with water we give new life to the land that is dead. With water, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as he gives, bihi means bihi, the ha here is a ha for, it's a pronoun, and it's going back to ma in the previous ayah. So Allah, the last two ayahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about with the water, how we give new life to the land that is dead. كَذَلِكَ الْخُرُوجِ. This is how the dead will emerge from their graves. Remember, we talked about this conversation, we talked about the beginning of this conversation, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is further proving or further talking to those who disbelieve. And He's further letting them know that, hey, you guys are disbelieving in Allah, and you're saying that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't bring you back to life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now provided all these examples about His power, about His qudra, His ability to bring life, His ability to create the heavens, His ability to create the skies and the land and the things that we experience every single day. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that as easy as it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring a land that was dead with water, to bring it back to life, كَذَلِكَ الْخُرُوجِ is even easier. Kadhalika, just like that, it's even easier for the dead to come back from their graves, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring the dead out from their graves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rizqan lil ibad. Before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we saw this word abd, we saw it in ayah number 8. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِكُلِّ عَبْدٍ munib, that this is a sign, this is a lesson, this is a reminder for every single servant of God, every single servant, munib, that turns to Allah. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't qualify the word abd. He says that rizqan lil ibad, that this is provision, this is a gift for every single slave, every single creation, for everyone, everybody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't qualify it here. And why? Because here we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feeds everybody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for every single person. He feeds everyone, but not everybody recognizes that God is feeding them. Not everybody acknowledges that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly taking care of them. It's important for us to really think about this, that as the seasons grow and the seasons change, we see flowers that bloom, and then to us it's like the flowers just went away. We don't really think about it, we don't really put much thought into it. But every season when the flowers come back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who brings them back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's causing the showers, the rains to come and to make the flowers bloom again, for the land to be sustained again. And so this is out of the power and the blessing and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the last ayah we're going to cover today. But before we end, I just wanted to do one last thing. In ayah number 6, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the skies, He talked about 3 things. He says, بنيناها, he built it. وزيناها, he beautified it. ما لها من فروج, and there are no cracks in it. There are absolutely no cracks in it. When he talked about the earth, he said three things. مددناها, he spread it out. ألقينا فيها رواسي, he stabilized it with mountains. And then he says, أنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج, and he split it open for things to grow out of it. That every single pair or every single, not necessarily, Zoj not talking about pairs, it's more so like counterparts, okay? So every single fruit can come from it. Different things can grow from it. What's interesting here, this is not necessarily the point, but what's interesting here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about how the sky had no cracks in it, but the ground did. And what's interesting is that you don't want cracks in your ceiling. Like if you're, say for instance, you're sitting in your kitchen or your restroom in your bathroom and there's a crack in your ceiling, you don't want that. But you do need a crack in the ground for drainage. You do need a crack in your tub for drainage. You don't want a crack in your tub ceiling. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, he says that there are no cracks in the sky, but he says that in order for things to come out and for things to, go away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made cracks in the ground and the earth. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about what he provided for us, he talks about three things. Jannatin, these are pleasurable fruits, gardens that have these pleasurable fruits. وَحَبَّ الْحَصِيدِ, and sustainable harvests, graves that will keep us, that we can be able to store. And then he says, وَالنَّخْلَ بَاسِقَةٍ لَهَا طَلْعٌ نَضِيدٌ, these types of fruits, this type of food that has both kinds. They're both fruits, but they're also sustainable. They're things that we can keep for a long time. And when you look at this and you see the three that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how he talked about the sky, and talked about the earth, and talked about the things that he provided for us, and how the style of the Quran, you learn. This is why we sit down and we study the Quran. This is why we sit down and we read about it, and we go to teachers and have teachers who teach us about the Quran. Because when you spend time learning about the Quran and learning about the miraculous nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you get these beautiful gems, it just builds your iman and it builds your connection with God. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us all people who reflect upon the Quran, who do not take his signs for granted. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal all those who are not feeling well, who are sick, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all good health. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make things easy for each and every single one of us, and that we've all benefited from what we learned and heard here today. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.